Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah amma ba'du. From the different messages that come to us consistently in the Quran and in the Sunnah of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wasallam is a lesson that's repeated a number of times in a number of ayat, as well in a number of authentic ahadith from the statements of al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The fact that the issue was mentioned multiple times is a sign and an indication of the importance of the message. The fact that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam called to a tawheed for 23 years straight is a sign and an indication for those who have intellect and for those who reflect. The fact that we have a number of ayat in the Quran being mentioned multiple times, like فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ from Surah Ar-Rahman, that repetitive way in which the ayats come in that ayat, they show and indicate the importance of the issue at hand. The Nabi from his Sunnah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is that he used to repeat things multiple times so that people would understand what he was saying, so that people would pay attention to what was being said. He told the people the religion is giving good advice. Ad-dinu nasiha, ad-dinu nasiha, ad-dinu nasiha. And he repeated it 3 times. Aisha radiyallahu anha used to criticize the people from the companions when she saw that some of them were not taking time out to repeat what they were teaching the people. And she said that repeating things was from the Sunnah of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the point of all of that is, if a message is being repeated over and over and over again, then the one who reflects and ponders upon the message of the Quran will grasp what we want to talk about today, the importance of what we were talking about today. And that is the fact that there are many ayat of the Quran and many ahadith of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam and incidents that transpire that go to show that today's topic is a topic that is worth the Muslim taking care of, paying attention to. And that issue is the issue of doing deeds and actions in the dunya and not putting yourself in a position to get the reward of those deeds and actions, but instead the opposite takes place. A person does deeds and they do actions that will come back and they'll have no benefit whatsoever because he did it the wrong way, did it the wrong time, did it in the wrong mode, did the wrong number, didn't have the right niyat, or he was doing or she was doing other deeds and actions that disqualify a person's amal. So there are a number of ayat of the Quran that reflect this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned those people who disbelieve, amalahum karamad ishtaddat bihi rih fi yawmin asif la yaqdiruna ala shay'in mimma kasabu. He said that those people who disbelieve, their actions that they did in their life, it's nothing but ashes. It's like ashes. The ashes that are there on a day in which there is a violent wind, a tornado. He doesn't have the ability to get any benefit from what he did. That's from the eloquence of the Quran. Allah Azza wa Jalla could have clearly just said that their deeds will be of no avail. But instead of mentioning that, it mentioned that their deeds are like ashes. If a person were to blow on ashes, the ashes don't have the ability to withstand the force of the blowing of the mouth. But the ayah said that their actions are like ashes in the midst of a violent tornado. That's Allah's way of saying that those people who disbelieve because of their kufr, because of their shirk, their actions are going to come no avail. That's one of the many ayat. Allah Ta'ala mentioned another ayat of the Quran. أَعْمَالُهُمْ كَسَرَابٍ بِقِيئَةٍ يَحْسَبُهُ الظَّمْآنُ مَاءً حتى إذا جاءه لم يجده شيئا ووجد الله فَوَفَّاهُ حِسَابَهُ وَاللَّهُ سَرِيعُ الْحِسَابِ. Those disbelievers who disbelieve in Allah Azza wa Jal, their deeds are like a mirage. When he comes to drink from the water of the mirage, he doesn't find anything there. There's no water, there's nothing there. It was just something that he thought was the case, like the person who does deeds in this life from the non-Muslims. He believes in Isa ibn Maryam, he believes in the Yahudiya, Jewishness, Sikhism, or other than that. And they try to do some good deeds here and there, and they believe that Yawmul Qiyamah, once they die, they're going to get some reward. Allah Azza wa Jalla established in this ayah that their deeds is just a mirage. When they finally come to the mirage, they don't find anything there, no water, but instead they find Allah, meaning after their death, they find the hisab of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And Allah Azza wa Jalla is quick to bring people to account. He mentions subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّتِي نَقَدَتْ غَزْلَهَا مِنْ بَعْدِ قُوَّةٍ أَنْكَاثًا. Do not be like the lady who knitted something, a sweater. She spent a long period of time meticulously trying to put together a knitted sweater, a blanket, and then after completing the task, she rips it apart. Allah Azza wa Jalla gave that example and said to the people, don't be like that lady who works meticulously and makes a lot of effort to get some rewards, but again, because of something that the person is doing or not doing, like in this case, a shirk billah, the deed comes for no avail, has no benefit. So the point is, there are many ayat of the Quran like that. Not the three that I mentioned, many ayat. Allah Ta'ala mentioned, وَقَدِّمْنَا إِلَى مَا عَمِلُوا مِنْ عَمَلٍ فَجَعَلْنَاهُ هَبَاءً مَنْثُورًا. We're going to come to what they put forth, Yawmul Qiyamah. We're going to come and bring it to account. And we're going to make their deeds like scattered particles. All of the effort that they made, whether the people were Muslims or kuffar, they weren't doing the thing the right way. They didn't do the thing the right number of times. They didn't do it in the right mode. They did it in the wrong place. Whatever the case is, Allah Azza wa Jalla is going to render what they did of no avail. So the message here is, no one should allow himself or herself to come Yawmul Qiyamah and they fall into that trap of making a lot of efforts, and the efforts, they have no avail. And there are many things that will render the deeds to be of no avail. Another ayah, Allah Ta'ala mentions in Surah Al-Kahf, the end of Surah Al-Kahf, قُلْ هَلْ نُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِالْأَخْسَرِينَ أَعْمَالًا. Tell them, Ya Muhammad, should I not inform you people of this ummah, of those people who are the worst in deeds? الَّذِينَ ضَلَّ سَعْيُهُمْ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَهُمْ يَحْسَبُونَ أَنَّهُمْ يُحْسِنُونَ صُنْعًا. They are those people who do deeds and they think that they're doing good and putting forth good, but their deeds will be rendered null and void. أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِآيَاتِ رَبِّهِمْ وَلِقَائِهِ فَحَبِطَتْ أَعْمَالُهُمْ فَلَنْ نُزِيدُ لَهُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ وَزْنًا. They are those people who disbelieved in the ayat of Allah and they disbelieved in the meaning of Allah, and as a result of that, we won't give their deeds any weight Yawmul Qiyamah. So the point, Ikhwani, brothers and sisters, is this a message that is consistent in the Quran, and it's a message that indicates things have to be done the right way in Al-Islam. As for the Sunnah, hadith wala haraj, there are just too many examples of how the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam addressed issues where people were doing things and he informed them, you're doing it the wrong way and you're not going to get the reward. Although their niyyah was correct and they had ikhlas to Allah, but again, they didn't do it in the right way, they didn't do it in the right time, they didn't do it in the right mode, they didn't do it in the right number, which is emphasis on the importance of people doing actions and getting the most out of their actions and not being of the people who do a lot of actions and there's no reward. The famous hadith of the man who was messing up in his salat. The ulama of al-hadith call this hadith Masi Salatu, al-Masi Salatu, the man who messed up in the prayer. He came into the masjid and he prayed 2 rakats. And many people are this man in regards to salat and other actions. But it was profound that it happened in the salat which is the best deed that people can do in the course of the day, as the Nabi told the people, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as-salat khayrul mawdu', faman istata'a an yastakthir falyastakthir. The salat is the best thing that you can do. So anyone who has the ability to make a lot of prayers, then let him make a lot of prayers. So it's the one issue that on a daily basis, there's nothing more important than the salat. Nothing under the sun, nothing above the earth that's more important than the salat, other than the person's tawheed, is saying La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. But concerning the actions, La ilaha illallah is an action of the heart. It's not something that is manifest on the limbs in terms of its expression, in terms of your actions with your arms and your legs, your tongue, your limbs. The salat is the most important thing that you can do. It's the first thing that Allah Azza wa Jalla is going to ask the people about. It is the most important issue. And yet, despite that, the vast majority of Muslims don't pray. And those who do pray don't pray the right way. And it's the most important issue. So if this is the case with the salat, you can make qiyas, or analogy, on the rest of the deeds. That man came into the masjid and he prayed 2 rakats very quickly, without taking his time, without concentrating, without keeping his back straight, without making prostration in an easy and relaxed fashion. After completing the 2 rakats, he went to the Nabi and said, Assalamu alaikum. The Nabi said to him, Alaikum salam, go back and pray because you didn't pray. The man went back and repeated his salat, 2 rakats, the same way, very quickly, without giving its concentration and its hot. After completing, he went, Salaam alaikum. The Prophet said, Wa alaikum salam, go back and pray. You didn't pray. He did it 3 times. The companion was not arrogant. After the 3rd time, he saw he wasn't getting it right. He didn't just allow himself to stay on ignorance. After the 3rd time, he said, Ya Rasulullah, this is what I know. This is the salat that I know. This is what I was taught. Whoever taught me, this is how I learned. That's how I learned to pray for my parents. That's how I learned to pray for my environment. Doesn't make it correct that that's what happened with you. What is correct is what the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam showed the people when he told them, pray the way you see me pray. So the Nabi proceeded to tell the man, if you want to make salat, then make a good wudu, which shows the salat actually begins before the actual salat. It's a state of mind. He said, if you want to pray, then make a good wudu. And then after making the wudu, face the qibla and say Allahu Akbar. And then after saying Allahu Akbar, read what's easy for you to read and recite from the Quran. After that, say Allahu Akbar, and then go into ruku'. And stay in ruku' in a relaxed fashion and manner. And then after that, come up and say Sami Allah liman hamida. And then say Rabbana wa lakal hamd. And then stand up and stay standing up in a relaxed fashion. And he went through the whole prayer, verbally telling the man what to do. So the point of this particular hadith and this incident is the man prayed, and yet the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him, verily, you didn't pray. Go back and pray. But he did pray. But he didn't pray the salat of al-Islam. The Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said about the fasting, رُبَّ الصَّائِمْ لَيْسَ لَهُ مِنْ صِيَامِهِ إِلَى الْجُوعِ وَالْعَطِشِ. It may be that the person who's fasting, during the course of his fast, he doesn't accomplish anything other than he makes himself hungry and thirsty. Because although he is holding back from the food, he or she may not be holding back from the other issues that will render the psalm null and void. So the person may fast, but they don't get the reward of the fast because they didn't do it the right way. They didn't do it in the right place. They didn't do it in the right time. They didn't do it in the right mode. As for the importance of the time, because in Islam, the ibadat, the acts of worship, they are what the ulama call tawqifiyya. Tawqifiyya, that's a word that we should add to our vocabulary, students of knowledge. Tawqifiyya, tawqifiyya. I don't know if the word is in Urdu or in the Mirpuri language, but it comes from the word waqf, waqafa, to stop. Qif, stop. The ibadat in al-Islam are tawqifiyya, which means they should be done the way that they've been legislated. Don't put your foot down and embark upon doing an ibadah from the ibadat of al-Islam until and unless you know how to do it. recently, as it happens every year, in the Masjid of Green Lane, doing the conference in Urdu, the man stands up there and he gives that poetry thing like that. I don't think that they ever say things of shirk. I think that they mention those things in which they're praising the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, hopefully in a way that is legislated. But before I embark upon such a way of praising the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whether it's anashid, whether it's acting, whatever it is, I want to do a skit in which I'm going to play Musa or something like that. The person has to know ad-da'wa ilallah tawqifiyya. Defending the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How do I defend him? Is tawqifiyya, because defending him is ibadah. It's from the best ibadah to defend the Nabi. So I'm not allowed to defend him any way I want to defend him. I can't worship Allah any way. Allah made that haram in al-Islam. And he made the sunnah of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam that the Nabi worshipped Allah with knowledge, and the people who are upon his religion worship Allah with knowledge. Allah Ta'ala told the Nabi, قُلْ هَذِهِ سَبِيلِي أَدْعُو إِلَى اللَّهِ عَلَى بَصِيرَةٍ أَنَا وَمَنِ اتَّبَعَنِي. Tell them, Ya Muhammad. Tell the non-Muslims and tell the people, this is my way, al-Islam. I call to Allah with knowledge. I call to Allah with knowledge. Me, I do that, and those people who follow me. We don't call to Allah based upon ignorance. We don't call to Allah based upon culture. We don't call to Allah based upon his being, our ideas. The man was an ignorant man from Yemen, a Bedouin man from Yemen, traveling through the mountains of Yemen. He met on the passageway a Yahudi. He doesn't like the Yahudi because of the position of the Yahud in the Quran. They killed the Anbiya, they gave Musa all kinds of problems. They've been mentioned, their hasad and their haqq against Islam, the people of Islam. So the Muslim man from Yemen, he meets the Yahudi man in the narrow passageway in the mountains of Yemen. He pulls out his knife that those Yemenis have, and he says to the Yahud, you better become a Muslim. You better become a Muslim. I'm going to deal with you right now. The Yahudi said, okay, I'm ready to become a Muslim. What should I say? He said, I don't know. I don't know what you should say. I don't know what you should do. The important thing is you just have to become a Muslim. The important thing is I'm just going to defend the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The important thing is I'm going to show my love for the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam by doing anything and saying anything. Ibadat in al-Islam, tawqifiyya. The time, the place, the mode. All of you know from the sunnah of the Eid al-Adha and the Eid of al-Fitr is that there are distinctions between both of them in terms of the time. Eid al-Fitr is done and is delayed after Salatul Fajr. People should try to delay it, and one of the hikmahs and wisdoms of delaying the Salat al-Fitr is people have to dispense of the Zakat al-Fitr before the Salat. You should get that Salat out before the Salat. Not to do so is a problem, religiously and practically on the earth. So you try to get the money to the fuqara, the people who need it, the masakeen, so that they can have a nice Eid. They can get the money and buy clothes, buy food, so they'll be prepared to do the Eid celebration. So the Salat itself is delayed. As for the Eid of al-Adha, after al-Hajj, the one that's coming up inshallah, that Salat should be done quickly. After Salat al-Fajr is done, the sooner it is to Fajr, that's better, because that's what the Prophet used to do, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the wisdom for that is, the ulama of Islam mentioned, the person goes and he slaughters, he has to go and he has to slaughter. So if we pray early, it gives him more time to go and get it done. So he hurry up and he gets back to his family with the lahm or the meat of the slaughter. So the point here is time sensitive. The Eid Salat. Al-Fitr is delayed. Al-Adha is sped up. There was a companion from the companions of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam radiyallahu anhum ajma'in. He wanted to slaughter before the Salat to save himself a lot of time so that he could spend time with his family. So he slaughtered before the actual Eid Salat of Al-Adha. he told the Nabi, Ya Rasulullah, I did this slaughtering. The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam told the man, Shatuka shat lahmin. The meat that you slaughtered is just meat for you and your family. But you have to slaughter again. You have to slaughter again. Because although you slaughtered, you didn't slaughter the salat, the biha of al-adha. You did it at the wrong time. And no doubt the man had ikhlas. He had sincerity. And the reason why he was doing it, to hurry up and have time with his family, you can clearly see it has some benefit. And the people who try to introduce ways of doing things in al-Islam because they make sense, they call that istihsan. It makes sense to me, so I'm going to do it. It makes sense for us to do this, so we're going to do it. Whatever it happens to be. Al-Imam al-Shafi'i said that the one who does this istihsan, he has actually legislated in the religion, because once you open that door, people will come up with all kinds of ideas about why and how things should be done. So the point here is that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told the man who slaughtered, he actually spent his money and he slaughtered the animal. It doesn't count because you did it at the wrong time. So again, the message here is, throughout the book of Allah, there are ayat. Throughout the authentic sunnah of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, there are ahadith, statements, issues that he addressed that clearly show and indicate we all have a responsibility to take our time and focus upon how we're doing things, because if you do the thing the wrong way, it won't be accepted. And also, if you're doing certain things or you're not doing other things, then the deed has the potential of being rendered null and void. And they are a lot. At the top of the list, and the most important one, and the most dangerous issue that will destroy the deeds is ash-shirk billah. Ash-shirk billah. Allah Ta'ala told the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وَلَقَدْ أُوحِيَ إِلَيْكَ وَإِلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ لَإِنْ أَشْرَكْتَ لَيَحْبَطَنَّ عَمَلُكَ وَلَتَكُنَّنَّ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. It has been revealed to you, Ya Muhammad, and it was revealed to all of the prophets and the messengers before you. If you make shirk, Ya Muhammad, it will render your deeds null and void. And Yawm al-Qiyamah, you're going to be of those people who are the losers. If Allah Azza wa Jal threatened Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with that ayat, and all of the prophets and messengers before him, and they're from the awliya of Allah, and they're the imams of the muhtadeen who are on the sirat al-mustaqim, then what about regular people like you and me? Regular people. We're just regular people. You make shirk with Allah, you're in trouble. And no one should sit here and feel I'm safe from a shirk. I'm Salafi, I'm from Ahlul Hadith, I want to be a person from Ahlul Sunnah, and I know the danger of shirk. That doesn't mean that you're safe from a shirk. Ibrahim, the Khalil of Allah Azza wa Jal, used to make dua in the Quran, as we see those ayats, asking Allah Ta'ala to protect him and his children from ash-shirk billah. The Nabi used to tell the companions, the thing that I'm afraid the most for you, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and Ali, is I'm afraid from you from the small shirk. They said, what's the small shirk, Ya Rasulullah? He said, it's showing off. And in the society that we live in, this is something that is easy to fall into. Not to mention the other hidden forms of shirk that people do and say that they don't even realize that it's shirk. Another issue of those deeds and actions is innovation in the religion. The hadith of Aisha, that's in Bukhari and Muslim. The Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam told the people, anyone who introduces something in this religion that's not from it, it will be rejected. In another hadith, he said, anyone who does an action that's not from our religion, it will be rejected. So the person comes with a lot of efforts that he considers to be from the dhikr of Allah. He wants to make al-Hajj. Al-Hajj is coming up. When he arrives in Mecca, he comes up with a brilliant idea. Istihsan. He says, I'm in Mecca. So while I'm here in Mecca, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go to the Masjid of Aisha, Masjid Tan'im, and I'm going to make multiple umrahs while I'm here in Mecca. I'm going to go and make an umrah for my mother. I'm going to make an umrah for my grandfather, for my grandmother, for my wife, for the child that died, and on and on and on and on. It's a nice idea. But the question is, when the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam performed Hajj, when he performed Umrah, did you see him doing that? Anyone who does an action that's not from our religion is going to be rejected. So at the top of the list, 2 things that will destroy your deeds. Ash-shirk billah, doing things you don't have sincerity, doing things and you're thinking the wrong way or the wrong thing about it, is in trouble. And the other thing is doing things based on innovation. And during this time, we have some people of the Sunnah who are actually worshiping Allah Azza wa Jal based upon innovation, in the way that they make hajar of people, warn against people, take positions of people, them and their sheikhs are on innovation, because no human being is free from falling into bid'ah. Them and their sheikhs are on innovation. I have to follow you and do blind following just because you're you. That's not from the religion of Islam. I do blind follow when I don't have the ability to figure out the situation. But in this case, I got the ability, and I don't agree with you. And you and your sheikh come and you tell me, if I don't do that thing, then something's wrong with me. That's an innovation. From the innovations, ikhwani, all the problems that will render a person's deed null and void is the salat itself. Those of us who are laxed with the prayer or aspects of the prayer, like the salat of al-asr, authentic hadith, the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam informed the people, man fatathu salatul asri habita amaluhu. Anyone who misses the salat of al-asr prayer, his deeds will be rendered null and void. Allah commanded in the Quran, hafidhu ala salawat wa salat al-asr wa qum lillahi qanitin. Take care of all of the prayers, but specifically take care of the middle prayer, the salat of al-asr, and stand up to Allah in obedience. Stand up in the prayer with concentration and pray the right way. ألم أقول هذا حافظوا على الصلوات والصلاة الوسطى وقوموا لله قانتين. So the point here, ikhwani, is if a person misses salat of al-asr, which is mentioned in this particular ayat, stand up for the prayer, take care of the prayer, and take care of the middle prayer. Some of the scholars of Islam, they said that the middle prayer was the Fajr prayer. Some of the ulama said that the middle prayer in this ayat is the Dhuhr prayer. Some said it's the Maghrib prayer. Some said it's the Isha prayer. And they all have their point of view. Each one, they have the reason why they said that. Someone may sit there and say, how could this issue be an issue of ikhtilaf? It's the way they looked at it. Some of those ulama said that the first prayer that was legislated in al-Islam was the salat of al-asr, was the first prayer that the Muslims made. There had to be a first prayer that they made when prayer was wajib upon. Some of them said the first prayer was asr, and the second prayer was maghrib, and the third prayer is al-isha. So that's the middle prayer. So the ulama said the middle prayer is the 5 prayers. The strongest position is that the middle prayer is the asr prayer because of the hadith of Sahih Bukhari. The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam was fighting against the non-Muslims in the battle of the ditch, the battle of the trench, the Ahzab, one of the surahs of the Quran that was revealed. And when the salat of al-asr came, he wasn't able to go and make salat because he was engaged at that moment in a moment of danger. So he didn't pray. So salat al-asr came in and it went out. And the Prophet and his companions, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, radiyallahu anhum ajma'in, none of them prayed. Salat al-asr came in and it went out and nobody prayed. When that happened, he made a dua against them, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He said, شغلونا عن صلاة العصر صلاة الوسطى ملأ الله قلوبهم وبيوتهم نارا. These people have made us preoccupied. We missed the middle prayer, Salat al-Asr. And he mentioned Asr as the middle prayer. And he asked Allah Azza wa Jal to fill up their homes and their graves and their hearts with fire against them. So 2 points we want to mention here. 1 point very quickly. When the scholars have ikhtilaf between themselves and they take varying positions, who are you, la umma laka? Who are you to come and make people take your position? One scholar said this, another one said that, and you did your best to find out and to follow the proof, and you took a position. Someone took a position other than you. How are you going to come and put pressure on that person to take what your scholar said, no matter who he is? No matter who he is. Who are you? But the reason that we wanted to mention this issue is it goes to show that the strongest opinion, inshallah, that's supported by the evidence, because it came out of the mouth of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, is Salat al-Wusta, the middle prayers, Salat al-Asr. So if Salat al-Asr, missing it, renders the deeds null and void, what about all of the other prayers, like Salat al-Fajr, which is heavier in the scales than Salat al-Asr? The Nabi told the people sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, أَثْقُلُ الصَّلَاةَ al-munafiqeen, Salat al-Fajr, the heaviest, most difficult prayer for the hypocrites to make. People who are not really Muslims, people who their iman is not complete, is Salat of al-Fajr, to get up early in the morning, especially when the Salat of al-Fajr is 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, things like that. Not like now, it's pretty late. Person makes Salat in Jama'at 6 o'clock, it's pretty easy. So if al-Asr renders the deeds null and void, then what about all of the other all the other prayers? A person is missing multiple prayers, or he's missing Salat al-Fajr, Salat al-Asr, and Salat al-Isha. From the deeds for the sisters, just as a reminder, and this is not a dig at the sisters, it's a lesson for them to be aware of, and also for us as well. There are many things that a person can do that will render his deeds null and void. Like, the Nabi said that 3 people will make salat, and their salat won't reach their necks. 3 people will make salat on a daily basis, but their salat won't reach their necks, meaning the reward of the salat, Allah won't accept it. And one of the 3 people, he said, the woman who has bad dealings with her husband, the lady's deeds won't be accepted. Her salat, her siyam won't be accepted until she gives her husband his haqq. So if a lady is married, and that's the religion of Allah Azza wa Jalla, if a lady is married and she doesn't care about the way she's dealing with her relationship with her husband, she can be doing deeds that render her good deeds null and void. And there are too many. Uquq al-walidain, not giving your parents their rights, is another action that will render the other deeds null and void, that will eat up a person's deeds. Every Monday, every Thursday, the deeds go up to Allah that we do for acceptance or rejection. Allah will forgive and accept everyone's deeds except 2 people. One, the mushrik, the one who's making shirk. The real mushrik, al-asli, the real mushrik, Sikh, Hindu, Christian, agnostic, and also the mushrik in al-Islam, the one who is a Muslim, but he's fallen into shirk by saying that he can make dua to the Nabi or whatever the person is doing. The second person who his deeds won't be accepted is the Muslim who has an ongoing dispute, personal problem with another person, and it's not religiously sanctioned. He doesn't get along with a family relative or some other Muslim, and it's not sanctioned, and he indulges that. He helps it to perpetuate. Now, if someone is against you and you have nothing to do with that, then you're not responsible. Nor do you have to go and make peace with them. They are the problem. You're not responsible. They have the issue. It's not your fault. But when you and that individual, both of you are actively engaged in keeping a rift between you, then the deeds of those individuals who have a shahna, they have that ongoing dispute with the people, their deeds won't be accepted by Allah Azza wa Jalla. So there is a book in English, Khwani, you can get that book. That book is called The Invalidators, or What Invalidates Your Actions. It was written by a Sheikh of the Sunnah, Salim al-Hilali. I would advise you to get that book, because he gathered in that book a number of issues that people fall into on a daily basis that render the deeds null and void. If you don't get the book, keep in mind, in al-Islam is the message of don't be a person who does actions and then your actions come Yawm al-Qiyamah and there'll be of no avail because you didn't do it the right way. You didn't do it at the right time. You didn't do it with the right niyat. You didn't do it in the right number. You didn't do it in the right mode. And the way that the person is saved from that issue is getting knowledge of his religion and knowing how to do things, when to do it, what mode to do it in. And there's no one who showed us a better way of doing things than the companions of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in practicing what they've been commanded to do in the Quran and in the authentic Sunnah of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So for the next few minutes, if you brothers have any questions, inshallah, we'll take and entertain those questions that you may have. And Allah is A'la and A'lam.
Allah says, that's the people of knowledge. If you don't know, in today's day and age, who are the people of knowledge that we should return to? Who are the ulama of the Sunnah?
Concerning the command of the Quran, ask the people of knowledge. If you don't know, who are those people of knowledge? People of knowledge are many. Alhamdulillah, they're prevalent and they are available and they're in many countries. We just had one who came to this area, Sheikh Abu Usamah Athahabi, as one of the biggest lessons there in Mecca. Speaks Urdu. It's from the Indo-Pakistan subcontinent, as they say. So he's a scholar from where you people come from. And there are other ulama from where you people come from. I don't know the names of them, but they are there. People of al-hadith who know what they're talking about. Like that Sheikh Az-Zubair Ali Zay. People who have knowledge of the Sunnah and the Deen of Allah. They don't call people and cultivate and raise people upon a taqleed of their opinions or the opinions of other than them. In Arabia, there are a number of ulama, but one thing that I find really strange is some people will have us to believe and to understand that they're only scholars in Saudi Arabia, that's it. There are ulama in different parts of the world, and there are ulama in different aspects in the sciences of al-Islam. Some ulama are just ulama in fiqh, some ulama just in hadith, some ulama in the Quran's recitation and the tafsir of the Quran. But from those ulama who we're connected to, who are relevant, who we hear their names quite often, are those scholars from Saudi Arabia like a Sheikh Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad, Sheikh al-Fawzan, and Sheikh al-Luhidan. But again, they're not the only scholars in the world, and not only that, are they not the only scholars in the world, but you will find some of the ulama, like the ulama in Pakistan, for an example, in India, who they're not on any of those madhahib and give fatwas based upon what the madhab say. But they give fatwas based upon the dalil, and wherever the dalil goes, that's where their fatwa happen to be, without any connection to any madhab. As for the scholar who has a madhab, like the scholar of Saudi Arabia, Hanbali, believe that they make ijtihad and they give their rulings based upon ijtihad, but a lot of times we're not interested in what the madhab has to say because we're not interested in worshiping Allah in that particular way. So the point here is there are a number of scholars from every or many continents and countries. It's our job to find those people who just are giving dawah to the Sunnah and to the Kitab. And Allah knows best. Any more questions, Ikhwani? Naam, Sheikh.
In the Salah, you said there should be calmness here when you're doing sajda and going to ruku. How far can you go if you stand and walk like that? And can one actually go to a stand where you can say laziness in your Salah?
How far what?
How far can you go? For example, from one sajda to another, you can wait. Or you stand it not slowly because you're creating a calmness. And it can go to the extent where you can say there is laziness in your Salah.
Well, it depends on everybody. First of all, the Nabi told the people, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, أسرق الرجل الذي يسرق صلاته لا يتم ركوعها ولا سجودها. The biggest thief is the man who steals from his salah. He doesn't give the bowing its right, and he doesn't give the sajda its right. He's quick in it. He said in another hadith, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, ما من امرئ مسلم تحضره صلاة مكتوبة فيحسن ركوعها وسجودها ووضوءها إلا كانت كفارة لما قبلها من الذنوب ما لم تؤتى الكبائر. There is no Muslim person who, when the wajib fard prayer comes, he takes care of the ruku', he takes care of the sujood, he takes care of the wudu. Anyone who does that, except the salat that he prayed, it is a kafara for the sins that went before. It wipes off the sins that went before as long as he stays away from the major sins. So if he falls into major sins, his salat doesn't wash them away. He has to make tawbah to Allah Azza wa Jal. All of that shows the importance of praying with discipline. As for how long should I be in ruku' and how long should I be in qiyam? Because if I'm in that position for a long time, it may be just laziness. La wallahi, that's not the case. Abdullah bin Mas'ud said that he was praying with the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he read Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah Ali Imran, Surah An-Nisa, Surah Al-Ma'idah. He read all of that in one rak'ah standing up, and then he made ruku'. And he stayed in ruku' for the same amount of time of the qiyam. And then he stood up, and then he went in sajda for the same amount of time that it took him to read all of that. Abdullah bin Mas'ud said, فَأَصْبَحْتُ أُظَنْ is so. I began to think something negative. What was negative? Man, I'm getting out of this salah. He started saying to himself, man, I ain't praying this long. I'm getting out of this salah. I'm down in the sajda all of that time. It wasn't a wajib prayer, so he started thinking, this is not wajib, it's too much for me, I'm not Rasulullah, I'm getting out. He said that was an evil thought to him. He said, but he kept going through the prayer with the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that shows and it indicates what? That the Nabi stayed in the salah for a long time. For a long time. So he says sallallahu alaihi wasallam about the sajda, aqrabu ma yakun al-abdu ila rabbihi wa huwa sajid fa akthiru fihi min ad-du'a. The closest that the slave is to his Lord is when he's in sajda. So make a lot of dua in sajda. If you're praying by yourself, you can make as much dua you want to make, and you're in sajda. So the answer, how long should my sajda be? How long should my ruku be? It's relative. It goes back to you. It goes back to the prayer that you're making. Who's behind you? What time is it? What's in front of you? Are you on your lunch break? And all of those issues. But the main point is, as he prohibited us from praying like many animals, don't pray like the dog. Don't pray like the fox. Don't go down like the camel. He told us don't pray like many of the animals. And one of the animals, he told us don't pray like the chicken, who goes down very quickly when he pecks to pick up the food from the ground. Whatever the case is, try to make a salat that is easy and comfortable, in which you're not rushing. And Allah, Rabbi, is Ala and Alam. Any more questions, Ikhwan?
If any of the sisters have questions, just pass a paper around to the front, inshallah.
Yeah, go ahead, my man.
You mentioned about nasheeds and praying Prophet and praying Allah.
I didn't mention that. No, okay, go ahead.
What types of nasheeds are whispered? Because there's a trend now that a lot of people think it's better to listen to nasheeds with music, which praise Allah and Prophet, than rather listen to music of, say, rap or
Now, there's ikhtilaf, first of all, ikhwani, concerning the nasheed, the anasheed. Some of the ulama are against anasheed in every shape, form, and fashion. And I take that position. Sheikh Muqbil was from those ulama who said straight up and down, like 6 o'clock, anasheed are not permissible. And the fact that the Nabi, he had a man who was called Had, he was Had, Al-Had, or Hadin, and Jesha, who was on the front of the caravan when he used to travel, and he used to say things to determine the pace of the caravan. He wasn't making anasheed. The fact that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to work and do hard work, like taking the rocks out of the ground when he was building the Masjid Quba, and he was saying things, and the companions were saying things about being guided, and so forth, so on. Those were not anasheed. They were poetry that he was saying, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not anashid as we know it today. But then there are those scholars who said anashid are permissible. Sheikh ibn Baz, ibn Uthaymeen, other than them. And the anashid that they say that is permissible is the one that is, number one, it doesn't take the place of talab al-ilm. The anashid takes the place of learning Quran. Anashid takes the place of learning the religion. It's what many of the Islamic political groups turn the youngsters to take the place of getting knowledge in the religion. Another anashid, another condition that they saw the anashid that was okay is the anashid that doesn't have music in it. If it has music in it, musical sounds, and it's not permissible. Musical instruments, musical sounds, it's not permissible because music is haram. Dalil from the Quran and the Sunnah. The other condition or issue that they bring forth is the anashid that doesn't have lyrics in it, calling to shirk and kufr, calling to what is against the Quran and the Sunnah. Another one is the anashid where the anashid becomes like the now Muslims have rock stars. The guy who's doing the anashid, he becomes a person who we look up, the community look at that individual as if he's a person yuqtada bihi. He's like an imam, someone to be respected and put up. I've even seen in this country, in Masajid of Ahlul Hadith, I've saw with my own eyes how they bring a Deobandi anashid guy to come to their masjid. I saw that with my own eyes in Manchester and other than Manchester. Because why? Why are you people doing that? You Ahlul Hadith. Why are you people doing that? Because we want to bring the people. They listen to this guy. La, ya akhi. That's not the kind of anashid that those scholars were referring to. If it's anashid that helps you to break up the monotony of work or driving, and it just opens up the mind and the heart and the spirit to not listen to music and to waste time, and you're learning the religion, the arkan of Islam and iman and things like that, they said then this type of anashid is okay. But not the anashid that we mentioned some of the examples of it, and Allah knows best.